The knock came when the night was at its deepest. Not the kind of knock grown men use, firm, certain, impatient, but a small, uneven tapping, like knuckles unsure whether they were allowed to ask for mercy. Jonah Reed woke instantly. Widowhood had trained him that way. Silence never stayed empty for long. He sat up in bed listening. The wind pressed against the cabin walls. Somewhere far off a coyote called. Then again, the knock. Jonah slid his feet to the floor, pulled on his boots and reached for the lantern by the door. When he opened it, the cold rushed in, sharp and biting. A little girl stood on his porch. She couldn't have been more than 5. Her hair was tangled, her nightdress thin, her feet bare and red from the frost. One hand clutched the doorframe as if the world might tilt without it. Her eyes lifted to his, wide and shining with fear. "Mister," she whispered, "Mama needs help." Jonah's heart dropped straight through his chest. He didn't ask questions. He never did when a child spoke like that. He lifted her gently, wrapping her in his coat and carried her inside. She shook, not just from cold but from holding herself together too long. "What's your name?" he asked softly as he set her near the fire. "Lily." "Where's your mama, Lily?" She pointed into the dark. "The old cabin by the creek. She won't wake up, I tried." Jonah was already moving. He lit every lantern in the house, one by one, until warm light chased away every shadow. He saddled his horse with hands that remembered urgency, wrapped Lily in blankets, and lifted her up in front of him. The night swallowed them whole as they rode. The path to the creek was rough, half forgotten, choked with snow and broken branches. Jonah urged the horse forward, lantern swinging, breath fogging the air. "Stay with me, Lily," he said over the wind. "I am," she whispered, pressing back against him. "Please hurry." The cabin by the creek leaned like it had given up expecting help. Smoke did not rise from its chimney. The door hung crooked, barely shut. Jonah didn't knock. Inside, the air smelled wrong, stale, cold, touched with sickness. A woman lay on the narrow bed, her skin pale, her breathing shallow and uneven. Jonah crossed the room in 2 strides. He pressed his fingers to her neck, a pulse weak but there. "She's alive," he said, mostly to himself. Lily clutched his sleeve. "I didn't leave her, I promised." "You did right," Jonah said firmly. "You did the bravest thing." He built the fire high, heated water, wrapped the woman in blankets, rubbed warmth back into her hands. Fever, exhaustion, hunger. He'd seen it before. Too many winters taught the same lesson again and again. Hours passed. The woman stirred just before dawn. Her eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharp with panic when she saw Jonah. "Please," she rasped, "don't take her." Jonah stepped back slightly, hands open. "I'm not here to take anything. Your daughter came for help." Her gaze flew to Lily, who rushed to her side. "Mama, I got him. I knocked like you said." Tears slipped from the woman's eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. Her name was Anna. She'd lost her husband 2 winters earlier. The landowner took the farm the spring after. The cabin by the creek was all that remained. She worked when she could, traded when she could, endured when she had no other choice. She hadn't planned to collapse, but bodies don't always ask permission. Jonah listened. He always did. By the time the sun crept weakly over the mountains, Anna could sit up. Lily leaned against her, exhausted but calm now that the danger had passed. "We can't stay here," Jonah said gently. "Not yet." Anna looked at him, fear flickering again. "We don't have anywhere else." Jonah thought of his own cabin, too quiet since his wife's laughter had faded into memory. Thought of nights where the lantern burned for no one. "You do now," he said. They didn't argue. Jonah carried Lily again, this time wrapped properly, asleep against his chest. Anna rode behind him, steady but weak, holding on with quiet determination. At his ranch, Jonah lit every lantern again, not from urgency this time, but from welcome. The house filled with sound before it filled with words. A child's soft breathing, a woman's careful steps, the fire snapping alive like it had been waiting. Days turned into weeks. Anna recovered slowly. Lily explored everything. She named the barn cat. She followed Jonah like a shadow. She slept without waking in terror for the first time in months. The town noticed. People always did. Some said Jonah was foolish. Some said he was lonely. A few said worse. Jonah answered none of it. One evening, Lily sat on the porch beside him, swinging her legs. "Are we going back?" she asked quietly. Jonah looked at her. "Do you want to?" She thought hard. "Mama smiles more here." Jonah nodded. "Then let's not rush." Anna stood in the doorway, listening, her hand pressed to her mouth. Later, when Lily slept, Anna spoke. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. Jonah shook his head. "You already did. You trusted me." She hesitated. "What happens now?" Jonah stared out across the land, wide, patient, honest. "Now," he said, "we take it one day at a time." Winter came again. But this time, when midnight arrived, no one knocked alone in the dark. Lanterns already burned. And in a house that had once known only loss, warmth held steady, because a little girl had been brave enough to ask for help, and a widowed rancher had been wise enough to light the way. Morning settled gently over the ranch, pale light slipping through the frost-etched windows. Jonah had already been awake for hours, moving quietly so he wouldn't disturb Lily curled up on the couch or Anna sleeping in the small spare room. The house felt different now, full in a way it hadn't since his wife's passing. Not loud, just occupied by life. Anna woke to the smell of coffee and fresh bread. For a moment she didn't remember where she was, panic fluttering in her chest. Then she heard Lily laughing outside. She pushed herself up and went to the window. Jonah was in the yard, showing Lily how to hold a lantern even in daylight, explaining how to keep the wick trimmed so the flame wouldn't sputter out. Lily listened with fierce attention, nodding as if this were the most important lesson in the world. Anna pressed a hand to her heart. She stepped outside carefully. The cold still bit, but it no longer felt like an enemy. "You don't have to teach her all this," Anna said softly. Jonah glanced back, a small smile touching his face. She asked. Lily looked between them. "Mama, did you know lanterns are like promises? If you take care of them, they don't leave you in the dark." Anna blinked hard. That's right, sweetheart." Life eased into a rhythm. Neither of them had planned, but both quietly accepted. Anna helped where she could, cooking, mending. Cleaning, Jonah never treated it like payment. He never kept count. Lily followed him everywhere, her laughter stitching itself into the land. At night, she insisted Jonah check under the bed for shadows, even though there hadn't been any since they arrived. One evening, weeks later, snow fell again, soft, almost apologetic. Lily watched it from the window, then turned suddenly serious. "Mama." "Yes." "You won't make me knock at night again, will you?" The room went very still. Anna crossed the floor in 2 steps and knelt, pulling Lily into her arms. "No," she said fiercely, "never again." Jonah cleared his throat. "And if you ever need help," he added gently, "you won't have to knock alone." Lily nodded, satisfied. The town, as always, noticed. Some offered kindness, others curiosity disguised as concern. A few asked Jonah outright when Anna and Lily planned to move on. Jonah answered the same way every time, "When they're ready." Anna heard those words one afternoon and sat down hard on the porch step, overcome by the weight of choice, real choice, for the first time in years. That night, after Lily fell asleep clutching the barn cat, Anna stood beside Jonah at the window. "I don't want to be a burden," she said. Jonah didn't look away from the land. "Then don't be a person." She laughed quietly, then cried, then laughed again. Spring arrived early that year. The creek swelled with meltwater. flowers pushed up where nothing had grown in seasons. Lily ran barefoot through the grass the moment Anna allowed it, shrieking with delight. One afternoon, Lily tripped and scraped her knee. Jonah lifted her without thinking, carried her inside, cleaned the wound with steady hands. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "You always come when I call." Jonah froze just for a second. "I always will," he said, voice rough. Anna saw it then. Not obligation, not charity, something deeper, something that had been growing quietly since that midnight knock. Months later, when autumn returned, Anna stood at the edge of the field with Jonah. "I don't know what to call this," she said. Jonah thought of lanterns burning against the dark, of a child brave enough to walk alone at midnight, of a house that had learned how to breathe again. "You don't have to call it anything," he said. "Just don't walk away from it." She didn't. Years later, people would tell a story in town. About a little girl who knocked at midnight. About a widowed rancher who lit every lantern he owned. About how kindness, when answered without fear, has a way of becoming family. And they'd say the land itself remembered that night. Because ever since, no matter how dark the winter grew, there was always light waiting in Jonah Reed's windows. The winters that followed were no longer measured by how much snow fell, but by how much warmth stayed. Jonah didn't notice the change all at once. It came in pieces so small they hid inside ordinary days, in the way Lily no longer flinched at sudden sounds, in how Anna hummed while kneading dough, in how the cabin, once a place Jonah slept and worked, became somewhere he lived. The past still visited him, but it no longer ruled the house. Some nights Jonah would wake before dawn, reaching for a memory that wasn't there anymore. On those mornings he'd sit at the table, lantern lit low, listening to the quiet breathing from the other rooms. And the quiet didn't hurt the way it used to. Anna noticed those mornings. She never asked questions. She'd simply pour him coffee, sit nearby, and let the silence speak without interruption. That, Jonah realized, was a rare kindness. Lily started school the following fall. Jonah rode with her the first day, her small hand gripping his sleeve like she might float away without it. When the teacher smiled kindly and led her inside, Lily turned back once. "You'll be here when I come back, right?" Jonah didn't smile. He answered with the seriousness a promise deserved. "I'll be right where you left me." And he was. The town changed its tone after that, not all at once, not loudly, but slowly like frost melting in the sun. People saw Jonah at school meetings, saw Anna helping neighbors, saw Lily laughing, healthy, unafraid. Rumors gave way to facts, and facts rarely fed gossip the way fear did. One evening, a storm rolled in without warning. Thunder cracked close enough to rattle the windows. Lily woke crying, bolting from her bed. Jonah was there before Anna reached the doorway. "It's okay," he murmured, lifting Lily easily. "I've got you." She buried her face in his shoulder. "It's loud." "I know, but loud things don't last forever." Anna watched from the hall, a hand over her mouth, understanding finally what Jonah had become without realizing it. He wasn't just shelter. He was certainty. Later that night, after Lily slept again, Anna stood beside Jonah near the fire. "She trusts you," Anna said. Jonah nodded. "So do you." Anna hesitated. "I didn't mean for that to happen." "Neither did I," Jonah replied, "but here we are." The words hung between them, not heavy, not demanding, just honest. The next spring, Anna suggested repainting the cabin. Jonah almost said no out of habit. Then he caught Lily dragging a brush across the fence, blue streaks everywhere, laughing like the world was hers. He handed her a proper brush. That summer the cabin turned white, the barn doors red. Flowers bloomed where no one remembered planting them. Travelers sometimes slowed when passing the ranch, curious about the warmth that seemed to spill out into the road. One late afternoon, Lily ran up the hill, breathless. Mr. Jonah, Mama fell. Jonah dropped everything. But this time when he reached Anna, she was laughing, embarrassed, unhurt, brushing dirt from her skirt. I tripped, she said. I'm fine. Jonah's hand still shook. Anna reached for them. You don't have to save us all the time. He met her eyes. I know, but I choose to. She didn't pull away. The truth settled fully the night Lily asked the question that had been waiting. Are we a family? Jonah looked at Anna. Anna looked at Jonah. No speeches, no hesitation. Yes, Jonah said simply. Lily nodded, satisfied, as if she'd always known. Years later, long after Lily grew tall, long after Anna's laughter carried less pain and more joy, someone new knocked at Jonah's door one winter night. A traveler, cold, afraid. Jonah lit a lantern. Anna opened the door. Lily, older now, stood beside them. The light spilled outward, steady and sure. And somewhere deep in the land, the story repeated itself, not because of fate, but because kindness had learned where it belonged. It stayed. And so did they.